Welcome to the Sooners 360 Recruiting Podcast, a podcast for OU recruiting fans by Sooners 360. Each week we catch you up on the latest in OU recruiting news and provide opinions and evaluations on all things OU football recruiting. I'm Chris Mason, lead recruiting analyst for Sooners 360. This podcast is now sponsored by Sooners 360 on Patreon. And to support this podcast, please go to patreon.com/Sooners360817 and click subscribe. It's only $2 a month. There's also a free trial option. And I'm posting my regular recruiting content over on that site. The link is also going to be in the show notes if you're listening to this on a podcast channel, or it will be in the info section of YouTube. Also, this podcast is now part of the Believe podcast family. Every team, every topic, everywhere. I'm also appearing with Chris Griffin from the Horns Down podcast and Jason Watkins from the Hall of Fame podcast. On Thursday nights, we're doing preview shows for the OU game. We're doing recap shows on Saturday or Sunday, depending upon the game and what happens. Also on Monday nights, Chris Griffin and I are getting together to do a recruiting Q&A. That's only available on YouTube. So you need to be following the Sooners 360 YouTube channel to get access to that. That's a chance for you to get an update on what's happening with recruiting and a chance for you to ask me any questions or about recruiting that you're wondering about. A free chance to have an interactive chat with someone about OU recruiting. So please take advantage of that opportunity. Chris and I do it at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central on Mondays. And coming up, we're going to have this coming Monday should be interesting. The Monday before signing day will be interesting because we've got signing day coming up in about 2 weeks, which seems just crazy, but it's true. So lots of stuff going on. So that's enough of the intro blurb. Let's get to the content. So this is episode 148, massive momentum building. As always, we start with commitments. And OU received a commitment on Tuesday from Mikyal Davis from Arizona. I've talked about him before. He is 5'11", 6 foot, 175 pounds. That's what he's listed at on the various recruiting sites. He's probably right around one of the services I think has him in the top 300. His mid-year junior film is it's awesome. I don't know how he's not somewhere closer to the top 150, top 100 based upon that in the top 300. Comps being thrown around for him include the pre-injury Kendall Dolby, which I can sort of see. I personally prefer, as I've mentioned before, Sooner legend Derek Strait. That's who he kind of reminds me of. He plays nickel corner, boundary corner. He could play free safety. He probably could even be more like the Kendall Dolby version of the Cheetah for the Sooners. He has elite change of direction and anticipation. For his size, he is a physical elite tackler. He has excellent short-range quickness and speed. He's making plays all over the field. This looks like an excellent pickup for the Sooners. He's from Arizona. OU's starting to recruit Arizona a little bit more. They've got several guys from Arizona they're looking at for both 27 and 28. And Mikyal Davis is sort of, maybe start of OU building a pipeline back to Arizona. So big pickup. OU is now ranked the number 2 in the country for 2027 on 247 because A&M has picked up 3 commitments in a row. So they're basically above OU. They picked up a couple of guys, some big prospects. So they're right ahead of OU on 3. They're still only ranking the first 2 commits. So they're not really counting the total commitments of the classes. So they're only counting the first 2 commits. So they're still just counting Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny. And I think that still has OU holding it too, although A&M, like I said, did add several new guys. So that might be, they may be very close to OU. It's Texas Tech is one because of Kavion Bryant and Jalen Brewster, 2 5-stars, and OU's just right behind them on that ranking. But again, OU's 2027 momentum is huge, and we'll go into that a little bit as I try and give you a recap, a catch up on where things are. The next big piece of recruiting news from over the weekend is that Braden Allen visited LSU for the Arkansas game. He got the offer that I think he was looking for, but I think after visiting LSU and coordinating back with the OU staff and with Emmett Jones, he has gone public and said he's locked into OU 100%. So we're going to take Braden at his word and presume that this flirtation with LSU is offer. He just wanted to, maybe just from a pride thing, he just wanted to get the LSU offer. He's also been ranked as a 4-star top 300 player by Rivals with their rankings modification. So looks like OU's got that wide receiver situation locked down. So more predictions for OU for 2026. Not new names for you, but the weight of the prediction is interesting, at least from an industry standpoint. So the first one is Messiah Mickens was predicted to OU by Steve Wiltfong. He has gone public today in saying he's not signing with Penn State, and he is down to OU, Indiana, and Ole Miss, and he's going to make a final decision on signing day. Everything I've got says that he's going to visit Norman for the LSU game coming up. OU gets the last visit, and it is trending heavily OU's way. Mickens is a big running back pickup. Would be an excellent addition to the OU running back room. OU needs to add some depth there. We're presuming there's going to be some turnover in the OU running back room one way or the other. So I think a second high school running back for 2026 makes all the sense in the world. And I think Mickens is probably I prefer his film to Walker's. Walker's year is so hard to judge because his film's kind of limited. His high school team just sort of fell apart, didn't win a football game. So he could blow up once he's in Norman, and he's back under a football team that knows what it's doing. It's a hard read on the situation. Mickens his film's great. His team is in the playoffs. He's probably 5'11", 210. So he's got a little bit of combination of speed, power, acceleration. Really like his film. This will be a good, quick recruiting win for DeMarco Murray if things go as Steve Wiltfong predicts. And Steve's not coming up with this out of nowhere. He's talking to every national, regional guy that he can before weighing these sort of predictions. And with it coming so close, you wonder if he's being tipped off by some recruiting folks from that part of the country. Then we got a prediction for Jaden Pettit, the big-time Florida wide receiver we've been talking about on this podcast for almost 4 weeks. He's predicted to OU by Steve Wiltfong. You also have to wonder if he's getting tipped off on something about Pettit, that Pettit's going to make I can see Pettit just making a flip on signing day and just, he doesn't want to tell Wisconsin no, but he kind of knows he doesn't want to go there. That's kind of my read on the situation. Could be completely wrong. The tip that's been floating around on OU message boards lately is that his trainer and mentor has started following Jim Nagy and Emmett Jones. And this same trainer mentor has been making a lot of noise in some recent interviews about Wisco's abhorrent, pathetic passing game that featured their punter being their leading passer for a game a couple of weeks ago. So, again, Steve Wiltfong is hearing enough from his sources to say he's confident that OU is going to flip Pettit. So let's hope he's right. So that's predictions and everything else for 2026. Now we need to switch to 2027. So the first piece of news there is, and a name I talked about at the end of last week, is Juju Johnson the wide receiver, cornerback, athlete from Long Beach Poly. He's ranked number 34 in the nation, or at least he was before he was injured. He is a borderline five-star elite player. He is announcing on December 1st, I believe it is, and he's supposed to be in Norman for the LSU game. So that's been booked and planned for a long time, and we've had multiple predictions from West Coast guys, most notably Greg Biggins, who, as I've mentioned before, is the West Coast guy I trust and have basically followed him for about 20 years. He's the OG. He's the elite guy on the West Coast. And then you've seen a bunch of other predictions come in from other teams that are interested that Juju had sort of his top five. Oregon, Nebraska, for instance, both of their regional, homer guys, putting in predictions for Juju Johnson to OU. So that seems to be something that's really coming together very quickly. And that would give OU 3 DBs with Mikyal Davis, Mikyal McCrary, and apparently on December 1st, the odds are saying Juju Johnson as well. So that would be very interesting. Juju Johnson's commitment would put OU back into the number one position on 247's 2027 recruiting rankings. Of course, other teams can add other players as well, but just if you throw his name in the class calculator, it goes up. OU's score goes up. So that's 2027. That would be if Juju Johnson goes through with that and OU's successful in that recruiting, he would be the 8th verbal commitment for 2027. This would be as early as OU has hit those kind of numbers with this kind of quality ever that I can really recall. I'd have to go back and look at some of the Lincoln Riley stuff where we didn't necessarily hold the guys, and that was more like a spring surge, and it was a surge before Christmas of the previous year. So just to recap, OU is at 7 guys. Juju Johnson would make 8. And they have predictions in right now for Taven Epps, the top 100 defensive end, outside linebacker, elite, super big cheetah from Tustin, California. Gabriel Osborne, who I'm just going to call an athlete. He's 6'3", 185. He could be a safety. He could be a cornerback. He could be a wide receiver. I don't think OU cares. They'll figure it out when he gets to campus. And then Crew Jones, the Utah defensive end, rush end. He's nearly 6'5", 230. And then Jackson Roper, the offensive guard, offensive tackle from Colorado, goes to the same sort of O-line development guy as Deacon Schmidt. And Jackson Roper's been going around the country visiting different schools. And I thought, well, maybe this prediction was a little early and maybe there's nothing there. But Roper is in a number of interviews lately, especially when he was called and asked about the Bama win, was sort of raving about OU. So that seems to definitely still be in play. I love Roper as an interior guy next to Caden Penny. OU's got Cooper Hackett as your elite left tackle. Luke Wilson from South Lake Carroll is also verbaled, and he's at right tackle. He's a development guy, but he's a perfect right tackle. So OU could be at 4 offensive linemen, maybe by New Year's Eve, something along those lines, maybe by early January, which would be a great move. That would be great. So that's 12 guys, 12 prospects, and Epps, Osborne, Crew Jones, and Jackson Roper are all 4 stars. Jones, Epps, and Osborne are all top 100 by at least one service, and Roper is vaulting up the rankings. So, and Juju Johnson, already mentioned, is a top 100 guy as well. So you'd add 5 4-stars, 4 top 100 players, depending upon what service you're looking at. So those 12 guys, that would put OU. That's that. And again, this isn't wish list stuff. These are predictions made by national guys, not regional guys, not OU Insider, Sooner Scoop, or Sooners Illustrated. Not that those guys don't know what they're talking about, but if you wanted to say, well, it's just homers picking it. This isn't homers. This is Tevin Epps and Juju Johnson by Greg Biggins. Gabriel Osborne is by everybody in recruiting, and Crew Jones and Jackson Roper from Steve Wiltfong, the national writer from Rivals. So when we're talking momentum, the massive momentum, the title of this podcast episode, that's what I mean is you have 5 guys, you've already got 7 commitments, which is a great number this early for 2027. Four guys who are 4 stars, 2 top 100 players. I don't know how DeMar DeZone's not a top 100 guy, but okay. Well, I guess he's not top 100, even though he's had a blistering junior year. Michael McCrary is a 4-star, and the 3 guys who aren't 4 stars, it's kind of weak. Jackson Stokes, I think he easily could be a 4-star. I think, as I said, Mikyal Davis should be a 4-star, and Luke Wilson, if he stays at 3-star, because he's kind of a development guy, that's fine. He's 6'6", 290. He's huge. He's athletic. Bill can develop him if he needs to redshirt for a little bit. So that's the real momentum for 2027. It's only continuing as the 2 wins OU has had back-to-back. That's placed them on the forefront of national media. The Bama win placing OU in the forefront of the playoff discussion, with OU being 8th. The kids will see that. They see the videos. They see the highlights. It's all building massive momentum for the Sooners. So that's kind of a recap about what's gone on. And like I said, back-to-back, talking about 2027 commits, like 3 weeks, 3 of the, I think in the last 5 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 of those weeks, I've talked about 2027 commits, which is just crazy. So it's off to a great start. You are perhaps seeing and I'm going to put a pod together about this because I need to talk about OU's recruiting strategy in some deeper terms and less news of the day. But maybe 2027, what we're seeing is the full impact of having an elite front office staff. And I know we could talk about OU position coaches and some stuff there, but OU recruits really well from the high school basis. Are they developing at every position? No, but they recruit really well. But maybe you're seeing the combination for 2027 of a fully prepared, fully staffed front office, doing evaluations, scouting, doing communication, because they're doing a lot more recruiting than I think most folks believe they were going to do. I think the initial thought was, well, Jim Nagy and his staff are going to help with the portal. And we'll maybe see that in January and see the impact of a full staff in January. But the front office staff is being a massive asset in high school recruiting. And that combined with OU's already excellent high school recruiting from the coaching staff, that double blow seems to be we seem to be seeing that double blow landing in 2027, at least so far. Okay, so that's what's happened. That's what's happened this week. What could happen this week? The back half of this, the Mizzou game. Now, it's an 11 o'clock kickoff. That's been well established. So it obviously impacts the ability for some players to come visit. But we have one official visitor who we need to talk about. So it's the name I talked about last week. It's Dane Bathurst from Indiana. He used to play at Tampa Plant High School, where the Clemson part of the OU staff has a lot of connections. He's an edge. He plays edge right now, but Nate Dreiling is his primary recruiter and looks like he's heavily pitching the idea to Dane that we want to move him to linebacker maybe to Mike, and that he could be, and at 6'3", 6'4", 230, he could be a Danny Stutzman type linebacker for the Sooners. A Mike of that size, that physicality. He's a very good athlete. Can he make this transition? I don't know, but he fits the mold of what OU really wants at Mike linebacker. Kobe McKenzie, Danny Stutzman, all big guys. So obviously in the SEC, a lot of power running teams. You want a guy who's physical in the run game. He's got to be able to do coverage as well. So that part we'll see. But if you watch OU staff, they're certainly able to. If you watch their defensive ends drop, they're certainly able to coach big men to get in the coverage lanes. So this will be interesting to see. There's a lot of folks interested in Dane. He decommitted from Duke and prioritized this OU visit. I'm not sure what his timeline is, but I would not be shocked if this visit goes really well, that Monday or Tuesday, Dane might pull the trigger for the Sooners. So it's an interesting recruiting battle. I like the thought of adding another Mike linebacker to the class, along with Bo Jandro. I've mentioned it before. My worrisome, maybe overly worried, concerns that Bo Jandro's been hurt this year and was hurt as a junior. When he verbaled, I wasn't overwhelmed with him in terms of his size at linebacker. And Dreiling just gives OU a backup in case Bo Jandro doesn't work out at Mike, I guess, if OU's able to convince him that future makes sense. A couple other names should be in Norman. They're behind paywall sites for now, so I'm not going to poach that information. If you look on some message boards, you can find out who that is. One of the names is very interesting just because of his position. It's a safety. And I think OU needs a true coverage safety in this class. Nico Jandro, as I've mentioned multiple times, is a cheetah. And he's a tweener for a lot of teams, but for OU, he's a perfect cheetah. So, but a true safety in the class, you got one true cornerback with Derek Johnson, so one true safety. That makes sense to me. So we'll see how that goes. Again, the kickoff is affecting who can come in. But overall, I think we'll see a couple of the 2026 names float in. Maybe there's a surprise or two. OU, under no circumstances, is done evaluating and making offers for 2026. We could see new names and prior names show back up for OU very easily, especially at safety. If they could get Caden Hall back on campus, maybe Jacob Eberhardt. Or if they can get some names back who didn't take OU official visits, like Caden Hall, if you could get him on campus for the LSU game, that would be huge. He's taking visits. The UF thing is kind of is still very uncertain. He's taking an official visit last week. So there's names that could bubble back up, and OU could use official visits they haven't for LSU, or they could be working guys who did officially visit who went elsewhere and decide they want to look back at OU. So it's going to be rocking and rolling a signing day, as opposed to last year where it was simply a batten down the hatches, hope we don't lose any commitments. And we did. We lost Cortez Mills sort of on signing day. And we were in panic mode about keeping Michael Fasusi. But for the most part, OU was able to keep their class together. They flipped. They lost the quarterback who went to FSU, got Jet New from Utah as part of Arbuckle coming on board. But it wasn't like a rush of like excitement on signing day or the couple of days of signing day. We could have some fireworks at post LSU game, depending upon how things go on. So there are two kids coming in, 2027 kids, that I want to highlight and spotlight. We have two 2027 quarterbacks coming in. The first one is Dane Weber, who we've been mentioning for several weeks. California QB, 4-star, having a big junior year. 6'1", 200, maybe 6'2", 210, something like that. Very Bo Bentley kind of game, just a lot of really good film. Very, polish isn't the right quite word, but he's obviously been well developed by his high school. He knows what he's doing. And in his most recent game, he went 24-31 for 360 yards and 5 touchdowns, and 10 carries for 106 yards and 3 rushing TDs. So he blitzed some poor high school in their playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting to see if OU offers Dane. Where are they in QB recruiting? Obviously, Peyton Houston, seems to be sticking with LSU, but until they hire a coach, I think it's probably a little bit up in the air. But he seems mostly to be, I'm sticking with the home state, and the home state's telling me my NL package is still good. So that appears dead. Of course, it could restart any moment, depending upon what OU does and what LSU does. The other name is Jamison Roberts from Saraland, Alabama. He's 6'4", 200 pounds, has a big arm, very athletic, very mobile. His stats so far for his junior year are 2,500 yards passing with 28 touchdowns. He's rushed for 541 yards, 17 touchdowns. So he's obviously doing damage in the red zone, rushing the ball. And his completion percentage is around 75%. I've watched his mid-year film. It's very good. There is a super high ceiling there with this kid. I think Weber is probably a little further along fundamentals and development-wise. But Roberts, considering they're both juniors, and they'll go through Elite 11 and all these camps over the next 7 to 9 months before they'll play again as seniors, Roberts has a really high ceiling. So I could see OU offering both and telling them first come, first served. I could see OU wanting to let them finish out there. They're both in the playoffs. Let's, finish your playoffs, and then we'd like to get back with you. I don't think OU can wait until next summer to see them throw in a camp setting. That's probably too late for both of these kids. But we'll see how things shake out. But OU at least has some noise. There's news for 27 QBs. Obviously, Bo Bentley gives OU a good grounding for 2026. But obviously, you need to sign a high school quarterback every year. The thoughts that maybe OU wouldn't sign a high school quarterback, I don't buy that. You need to get with the volatility of the QB position on most rosters, especially with the transfer portal. I think you've got to sign a high school kid every year just in case. And both of these kids, it'd be easy to see both of them being top 200 kids by this time next year before they sign for 2027. That wouldn't shock me at all. So we talked about the 2026 kids visiting, and it's Dane Bathurst and maybe a couple other guys. 2027, we've got 3 big names coming in. We should have some more names come in. The lists will be updated by Friday. We'll have some more kids announced on social media. Maybe a couple of surprise names show up. It's hard to tell. The 11 o'clock kickoff is the biggest restraining factor. I know you could also be telling kids to come to LSU instead, so it just depends. But there are 3 big names that I think are very relevant to OU. The first one is Trey Moore from sort of the Pflugerville area in Texas. He's a wide receiver. He is the son of OU quarterback Eric Moore, just to make me feel even older. He's 6'3", 6'4", 200 pounds. Top 200 guy in the 150 range. Could easily be in the top 100s. Big playmaking wide receiver. A&M and Texas are in there. Just a bunch of schools are after him. But this will be his first visit to OU, I think, in the last sort of 12 months. So hopefully he comes with his dad and is able to get a feeling of the OU experience and the OU family that he's mentioned before. That I think he's been to OU games before with Eric when he was younger, and that's always been, OU's always sort of been had sort of a family tug there. So we'll see. Then Gus Corsair from Kansas is coming down. The 6'3", 285, 290, maybe top 200 kid. He might be the best pure center in the high school class. He's from Kansas. He's coming down for the game. He has been to OU summer camps 2 years in a row. He's been to multiple OU games. He has lots of offers. He's been going to lots of different schools. But I think it's a good sign that he's coming back to OU to see an OU home game. So if OU signs a dedicated high school center instead of finding an athlete out on the O-line that they like who they think can play center, Gus Corsair would be an ideal center for this class. He can easily be, 6'3", 305, 310, I think. And Bill, the improvement he made from sophomore to junior year on film and also at the OU summer camp, according to reports, was significant. So Bill has a lot of history with this guy. That doesn't hurt. Then we have a kind of a strange name coming in. I was a little surprised by this. It's a Mississippi defensive tackle, Devin, D-E-V-N, Robertson. He's deciding in January. OU is on his short list. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first time he will be in Norman. He's a 3-star, I think. I don't quite understand that. He's 6'2", 310, 320. He's very athletic, very powerful, owns the middle, would be a true nose guard pickup for the Sooners, which would be good. I'm not sure where OU is in this. Should have maybe a better feeling after he makes his visit if he shows up. Never discount Todd Bates in getting defensive tackles from the South, and certainly, you'd like to think that if he makes it to the game and the OU defensive tackles do what they've been doing all season, that he could see himself as a dominating defensive tackle in Sooner Crimson. So that's Devin Robertson. There'll probably be some more names added. I'll have updates for you guys next week on Wednesday or on Monday if you go to the recruiting Q&A. Or if you go to my Patreon site, you'll have an update. There'll be updates on Friday and Monday about who was in and what's been going on. So that's it. Again, Sooners are just on a heater with recruiting. The momentum right now in the program from a recruiting standpoint couldn't be better. OU's just got to take care of business on the field these next 2 games to give OU massive recruiting momentum in December as a college playoff team. And then that will just ride into January and spring. We won't be dealing with any of the negative recruiting crap that we dealt with this year, where we lost a lot of momentum with elite guys because of the negative recruiting, because OU went 6-6, just pure and simple. Winning makes a difference in recruiting. It's just a very simple algorithm. So I'll be back again next Wednesday with this podcast for you guys. Thanks again for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your platform of choice. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That helps greatly. That helps with all the YouTube algorithms and all that. You also get notified about the live streams, and you'll know as soon as I upload videos. And finally, one last pitch. Please visit patreon.com/Sooners360817 to subscribe for more recruiting content on the Sooners 360 on Patreon. That directly supports this podcast, keeps this podcast free, keeps it from being a pay podcast, and helps me keep you guys up to date on recruiting content. One last thing, if you're like, well, how do I find you on YouTube? Go to youtube.com, type in Sooners 360 in the search box. You'll get my channel, click there, subscribe, and then you'll have access to all of the live stream replays and all of the content that I post on YouTube. So we'll be back next week. Big game against Missouri. OU at home. Let's hope they get it done, and leading into a massive game against LSU with huge implications for the Sooners. Bye.